You ever been tapped on the shoulder for a big responsibility and your first thought is just, oh no, I am not the person for this job? Well, that's exactly what one guy on Reddit said he felt. His church nominated him to be an elder, and his gut reaction was, I am woefully underqualified. And man, that feeling is just so relatable, isn't it?
You know, his personal struggle really gets right to the heart of a question that churches have been wrestling with for, well, centuries. What does it actually take to lead? Do you have to have a perfect track record? Know all the right answers? Or is it something else entirely?
So let's try and untangle this whole thing. In this explainer, we're going to pull on some threads from history, we'll clearly define the key leadership roles, and we'll look at how different churches are actually structured today.
Okay, let's go right back to that guy's dilemma. Picture this. His church is new, it's small, and they really need leaders. He looks at the biblical qualifications and just feels like he completely misses the mark. He's willing to do it, sure, but he's also honest enough to say, I don't think I'm ready. It's a total catch-22, right? The church needs someone, but the guy who's willing feels like he's the wrong choice. So what do you do? Well, to solve this very modern problem, we actually have to look backward. I mean, way back. Because it turns out the answer might be hiding in an ancient blueprint for leadership. The whole idea of elders isn't new at all. And right off the bat, here's the first big surprise. If you scan through biblical history, the default setting for leadership, it isn't some superstar solo leader or a powerful king. Nope. The consistent standard issue model is a team, a council of elders. And this wasn't plan B, this was the whole plan from the start. Just look at how consistent this pattern was. It's like an unbroken chain. It kicks off way back with Moses being told to gather the elders of Israel. Then, when the weight of leadership is crushing him, what happens? He gets 70 elders to share that burden. Later on, elders are the ones serving as judges, the civic leaders. Fast forward, and you see that Jewish synagogues were run by, you guessed it, a council of elders. And that exact same pattern just flows right into the early church. The apostles appointed multiple elders in every single church. It's pretty wild how consistent it is. Okay, fair question. You might be thinking, but what about the big-name solo leaders, like Gideon or Elijah? Well, the sources point out that they were kind of the exceptions that prove the rule. Think of them as special ops leaders, sent in for a specific crisis, like divine troubleshooters. They weren't the ongoing day-to-day management team. The elder councils were the stable foundation holding everything together. So, we've established this idea of an elder team is a huge deal. But let's be honest, today's churches throw around a lot of different titles. Pastor, bishop, deacon. Are these all separate jobs? Let's break these terms down. Okay, this is a really big one. In the New Testament, the words elder, bishop, which is sometimes translated as overseer, and pastor, they aren't different rungs on a corporate ladder. They all point to the very same office. It's like having 3 different job descriptions for one role. For example, in the book of Acts, Paul gets together the elders, he calls them overseers or bishops, and then tells them to shepherd or pastor the church. See? One role, 3 vital functions. Now, the other distinct role you see is the deacon. This idea comes from a story in Acts chapter 6, and it's all about practical service. A dispute popped up about distributing food, so men were chosen specifically to handle the logistics. And what did that do? It freed up the apostles to focus on prayer and teaching. So deacons are leaders who serve by taking care of the church's physical, boots-on-the-ground needs. So what's the one skill? The one thing that absolutely separates these 2 critical roles? I mean, both require incredible character, right? But the sources all point to one non-negotiable skill for elders. They must be able to teach. And this isn't just about being a good public speaker. It's about their core duty to guard, to explain, and to protect the church's doctrine. What's kind of crazy is that this ancient model of elders and deacons working together was pretty much lost for a long stretch of church history. It really got a fresh look during the Protestant Reformation. So how did that ancient blueprint end up becoming the church structures we see all around us today? Generally, it plays out in one of 3 main ways. First up, you've got the Episcopal model. Think of denominations like the Catholic or Anglican churches. Authority here is top-down, flowing from regional bishops. Then there's the Presbyterian model, which is more like a republic, it's representative. You have elders governing in both local and regional councils. And finally, you have the congregational model, where authority is bottom-up. Each local church is its own boss, basically. So let's zoom in on that congregational model for a sec, because it's super common, especially in Baptist and non-denominational circles. Even within this model, you see 2 main flavors. You've got churches led by a single pastor who acts as the only elder, and the congregation votes on pretty much everything. But then you have others led by a team of elders. In that setup, the congregation tends to delegate more of the day-to-day leadership to that group. And this all leads to a really important, kind of tense question, right? Especially in these congregational churches. Who really has the final say? The leaders or the members? You might be surprised to hear that the New Testament actually gives a pretty clear answer. In Matthew 18, Jesus himself lays out this whole process for handling conflict, and it ends with one final authority. He says, "Tell it to the church." This means the congregation, the entire local church body, is the final court of appeal. They hold the ultimate authority over who's in and who's out. This brings us to what might be the most important distinction of all: elder leadership versus elder rule. They are not the same thing at all. Elder rule is basically a board of directors that operates with total control and no accountability to the members. But elder leadership? That's different. That's shepherds who are given real authority by the flock and who remain accountable to that flock. It's leadership built on trust, not on control. So what does this actually look like on the ground? Well, here's a real-world example from one church's process for picking deacons. First, a nominating committee made up of both leaders and regular members puts together a list of candidates. Next, the current deacons review that list. And then, this is the crucial part, the entire congregation gets info on the candidates and they vote. It's a system that's built for transparency and trust, not for secret backroom decisions. Okay, let's bring this all the way back around to that man from the beginning, the one who felt woefully underqualified. How does any of this help him? Well, the answer is found in the wisdom of the team. See, having a team isn't just about being historically accurate, it's just plain smart. I mean, think about it. A team gives you instant accountability. It brings more wisdom to the table for tough decisions. It balances everyone's gifts and weaknesses so no one has to be a superstar at everything. It shares the massive emotional weight of caring for people. And it sets this amazing example of humility and teamwork for the whole church. It's a system that's literally designed for imperfect people to lead together. And this leads to this beautiful final thought from a comment on that original Reddit post. Someone wrote this to the guy who felt underqualified. In the end, his church didn't pick him because they thought he was perfect. They probably picked him because he was honest about not being perfect. They saw his humility, they saw that he was clinging to grace, and maybe that is the real qualification for a leader, not being a superhero, but just being a fellow traveler who knows they need help, just like everyone else. So we'll leave you with this to think about. Is your church led by a team of shepherds, or is it run by a board of executives? Are they caretakers of a flock, or are they managers of an organization? Because understanding that difference, well, that might just be everything.